Yes, thanks, Noel. And we're still here at the den, folks, and there's still a hive of activity. It seems like the adults are really tired after probably a night's worth of foraging and searching out carcasses or maybe a little bit of hunting. But the little babies are full of energy, and you can see the adults trying to get their daily sleep, but all the little youngsters keeping them nicely awake with all their energy. And the little fire finches and twin spots and all sorts coming down, little birds that the youngsters are playfully chasing, and it's quite wonderful to watch. So lovely to see the youthful energy in the morning. And very often we get to see that with the antelope as well, where the adults are probably quite relieved after the stress of surviving the night, and the youngsters start to play in that fresh early morning light and nice temperature, and they're always running around, very active and full of delight. You see the adults almost quite tired and fatigued after the night's activities. But wonderful to watch how the youngsters chasing each other around, chasing birds, playing with sticks, picking up old little bones and trying to tackle each other. Now, Dizzy Leo, you want to know, when do baby hyena join on the hunt, or when is the age? It's normally around that 2 years or so. So just after 2 years they get weaned around that time, and then they'll start to follow a little bit on the hunt. But remember, it's a little bit different to the way that lions hunt, where they all leave and go together as a group. Yes, there may be separation in terms of ambush and getting ready to actually catch the animal, but hyenas generally split up and then stay in contact via vocalization. And so you can have the cubs, they will follow their parent normally, and normally the female that would lead them towards the hunt, and that's where they'll learn mostly from their mother, because the males, remember, they are outcasts and they generally move between clans as well, so don't have anything to do with the real upbringing. They're only allowed to come in to the group, maybe for copulation and a little bit around the hunt, but otherwise the males are banished to the outskirts. It's a very interesting social structure, that with the hyenas, and the males are definitely at the bottom of the pile. And the females, the cubs and everything that are born within a clan normally remain within that same clan for their entire life. It's the males that move on, become nomadic. A little bit of vocalization there. Listen to that, and I'm going to answer some questions in a minute. I just want to listen in here. These are the youngsters that are vocalizing, and it's incredible that at such a young age they can actually almost vocalize like the adults. Now, oh darn it, you've asked the question, where are all the males now? Well, we won't see them anywhere near the den site, oh darn it, because this is purely for this particular function. It's bringing up the cubs, and this is the central point within their territory. But the males, you won't find them near here. The females will chase them off. They're not allowed near to the den site, particularly. So you'll find them very far sometimes from the den site, and you can see them dotted through the grass as we drive in and out of the den site, but not anywhere near to this particular point. So they can actually, it's quite difficult to actually realize which hyenas are part of which clan, because they can, even during the day, be spread out over a very large area. Now, Kylie, you want to know why hyenas make such a unique sound? Kylie, I'm pretty sure that over time and through evolution, they've probably used this and started to use a particular sound that carries a very far distance over the ground, and from that particular height that the hyenas do call from. And we've been watching them, and when they actually get this sound going, they have their head down very low, and as they do the whoop, they sort of lift their head up as they are giving the call. And so it's almost like it's a reflection off the ground and bouncing it along towards potential another animal that can pick it up with those satellite dish-like ears. And so I'm pretty sure that sound has just been deciphered through the time, and they've worked out that that's one of the best sounds. So you get the whoop, and you also get a woo, and then you get the that seems a lot more around food when they start to do the cackle. Folks, I'm not going to go anywhere. This is way too interesting for me to go, and so we're going to stay here, but when you come back, I'm sure we'll still be watching these little guys. But in the meantime, let's send you on down to South Africa and Steve, and I wonder what leaf he's going to eat now.
Thank you, Hyena Ralph. And we are not eating leaves, but the Nyala certainly were a moment ago. We have at least 3 beautiful antelope here, and there's a little baby, very cute, looks identical to Mum, just a little miniature version. Another reason why we stopped here, and obviously now that we've stopped it's gone quiet, but the tree behind there's a hive of activity of a whole lot of grey hornbills, African grey hornbills. There's definitely a morning of hornbills. Listen. I wonder if you can hear that. There he is. It's the whistling hornbill, the grey hornbill. A lot of the other hornbills do more of the chirring sound, and this hornbill does a very loud territorial whistle. Some territorial dispute going on there. Just like the other hornbills, they are nesting at the moment in very similar terrain. Also using dead cavities. But while we stay here with these hornbills and their display, there you can see their beautiful display, I believe Noel has something quite exciting for you on foot.
We have found our elephants. It's amazing. They're right behind me. Excuse me. We're on the backside of a termite mound at the moment. Everyone, welcome to this incredible special action broadcast. I'm coming to you live on foot on bushwalk in the African bush in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. And myself and Herbie, our tracker, and Davi, our cameraman, we've been busy tracking these elephants for most of the morning, and we found them. They're just behind me on this termite mound, just back here. We've counted about 4 or 5 so far, and I'm sitting where our wind is very good. It's swirling slightly, but mostly pushing the wind away to us here so that the elephants can't smell us. And I'm talking in a very quiet voice so that it's harder for them to hear. Obviously, we want to watch these elephants so that they never have any idea that we're with them. And they're just busy feeding in the back. We've got a nice big female who's going to come through. And when she comes through, she's going to come through like this and around this way. Now, if she moves the way that I think she's going to move, will be able to stay very, very still, and she'll just keep going past. Joe, you're right. You're saying, wow, we're very close. Joe, they're probably about 50 to 60 meters from me, so we're about 50 to 60 yards. So we're just at a very good space where they have enough of a bubble, and we have enough of a bubble where if they need to move away, they can move away if they sense we're here. And if we need to move, we can move. So basically, she's going to come around like this, and some of the little ones are going to follow her. And if we need to move, we just go behind the termite mound here and then out into the back, okay? So as you can see, I'm sitting here and I've got my walking stick with me in my backpack. Herbie, who's our tracker that's with us, Herbie has the rifle. Herbie is also a qualified trails guide like myself. But what we do on Walk Here, for all of you that are new with us, is Herbie carries the firearm and the first aid kit, and I carry my walking stick because I have to communicate with you guys with this ear closed. Herbie gets both of his ears open, and then Herbie and I work together to track and find these animals. Earlier today we were looking for leopard. It didn't happen. The elephants have been the next best bet. Now, because of the way that they've moved, I'm actually going to creep over towards this bush here because we're going to get another very good visual. Come follow me. Yeah, Rachel, don't go to sleep. Keep watching us. Now, Rachel, what's really cool about this is where we're sitting now, the whole rest of the herd is going to come this way and come behind. So we're going to get a few nice visuals. I'm probably only going to be able to stand here for another couple of minutes before we'll need to back away. But this is going to be absolutely fantastic. I hope you all are enjoying this as much as I am. They have no idea that we're here. I'm going to go quiet for a little bit so you guys can maybe hear the sounds of them feeding. They're picking up grass and taking the grass and putting it in their mouth and feeding. All right, so the way that they're moving now, they still don't know that we're here, but they're going to come up on the side of the termite mound here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to move directly to the back this way. All right, very slowly and quietly. And come through. Okay. It is amazing. Hey, everybody. So they still don't know that we're here. And we're going to come around the tree like this. Mrs. Grumpy, you're saying this is breathtaking, Mrs. Grumpy. I agree. So now we've just given a little bit more space. So as you can see, all of the elephants are still there, but they're quite close to the termite mound. So they still don't know we're here. I think one female figured it out. But we're just going to keep doing what we're doing now, because that gives them space. It doesn't change their behavior at all. And we get to keep watching them as much as we possibly can. Well, now, Valerie, I know because of their behavior, but now one of the females has lifted her head up. Do you see that? She now knows we're here. She's now smelled us. Our wind has changed a little bit. She's figured it out. The jig is actually up at this point. Now we're going to let her decide what she wants. So we managed a good 10 minutes without her knowing we're here. So we're actually going to have to back around to the back side of the bush there. Davi, if you want to just go with Herbie. And I'm slowly going to stand up and slowly retreat around. She's still feeding. She's not doing any disruptive behavior, which is pretend feeding. And we're just giving her a little bit more space. Now, she's not 100% sure that we're here. She's just got an idea that we are around. And because she has an idea that we're around, she's going to be a little bit more aware of our presence. And also, they're going to come up to the termite mound where we were sitting and smell us. So you can see them all just here. You can hear my breath has changed. This is exciting for me. This is one of my favorite things to do on foot. Izzy, I have every now and then. But in general, if you keep working the sighting the way we're doing now, it works out very well. So we're going to have to reposition again towards the back here. because they've changed the way they're feeding. And notice how when we're walking, we're doing it very quietly and very softly so as not to disturb them. We're going to get one more amazing view just through here. Look at this. How incredible. And they're all going to walk through and walk past. So we managed to get in and out with very little notice. It was just that one female. And even her, she wasn't even 100% sure. Now they've gotten to the termite mound where we were. So they're smelling us. So notice they've stopped. They're talking to each other through the subsonic vibrations in their feet. And then they're going to keep carrying on and moving away. Everyone, thank you so much. What an incredible action broadcast. I do hope you enjoyed. You can follow us twice a day, every day, on the YouTube, #Safari Live, and you guys will enjoy, I hope, the rest of the shows with us. Now they do know we're here. Just come around the tree there. All right, we are going to go back to Rolf. The females have figured out that we're here. She definitely knows. They came around the corner, they caught us, but that's okay. We're going to move out, and they're going to move on, and we're going to be just fine.
Yes, and folks, once again, we're still here at the den site, and we are in hysterics with these little young'uns. They've got a stick now, and it seems whoever's king of the castle is the one that retains the stick. So let's see who maintains the chalice. It looks like they're fighting over it now. There, he's got it. Off he goes. And watch how the others come and join in. That stick is very interesting to all of them. And while we were sitting here, I was thinking about the questions that were asked a little bit earlier about their vocalization and why do they call like that. Now, I'm thinking about emergency services sirens. If you listen to police, ambulance and fire brigade sirens, and obviously as humans we've probably worked out what is the most effective way to pass on an emergency sound, and it's probably over large distances as well, so that everybody can clear the area and know that there's an emergency at hand. And if you listen to those sirens, it is almost identical to that of a hyena whoop, because if you put it together, that whoop, it can go into a woo, woo, woo oh, sorry, I did that a bit loud. And maybe that goes over into the siren. Now, that could have come down to biomimicry, where they've worked out that sound, maybe they did do it from hyenas, or whether they did or not, it just seems that the hyenas have evolved the most perfect sound to call to each other over long distances, because if we've worked that out as humans with all our intelligence and our technology, well, they've been able to do it naturally and now have the most efficient way of communicating vocally over large distances. And so I think that hyenas are extremely evolved in their communication sense. So it's very interesting to think. I wonder which one is the closest, the fire brigade, the ambulance, or the police to their siren-like call. And you can see there that little one. He wants to play tug of war. He's quite happy with his trophy, but he also wants the others to try and get it away from him. And so, how wonderful it is. I might stay here just a little bit longer. Maybe we'll still be here when you come back. But while we sit here in this beautiful den site, let's send you on over to James, who has a little home of another nature.
Right. Yes, a little home of another. Yet again, the Wahlberg's eagles, we find, everybody, are showing us up as human beings. What we have here is possibly the male Wahlberg's eagle flying off to his wife with flowers. Look at that. Despite their lengthy consortship, he has brought her some flowers to brighten up the home. There we go. Isn't that sweet? Even though they've had their chick, he's still romancing her. I actually think that that is the chick that you see flapping around in there. Can you see it doesn't have a little cap on the back of its head yet? And I know that it's almost the same size as the pale form, but he's eating in the nest. And I don't think they'd do that unless they had, somebody had brought the chick something to eat. So 70 days is all it takes from eggy all the way to sort of fledging. In fact, no, it's not. It's not scruffy enough to be the chick, the dark one. I think the dark one is, in fact, the female. I mean, I don't know which one's the male or the female. I was just saying the one bringing the flowers was the male, but quite possibly not. So where's the youngster is the question. Now, for those of you who haven't seen this nest before, we did see a chick in here about... When was it? It was before I went on leave. So a good 3 and a bit weeks ago. In fact, let's call it 4 weeks ago. The chick was probably about 4 weeks old then. So it would be at fledging age. I wonder if something hasn't happened to it. And that might be why they are still adding to the nest. Unless that dark one is the chick, but it doesn't look nearly scruffy enough for me. I'm just going to check on my bird app. See how modern I am. To see what the juvenile looks like. Eagle. Intermediate, pale, dark, etc. There's no juvenile here. I don't have a picture of a juvenile. That's very interesting. Let me check my book as well. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay. Well, as we observe things here and try and figure out what's going on, we're going to go back to Noella, who is still with Elephant on her feet.
Alright, so you saw there the last little bit just before we cut away, she did figure out we were there. And the head was up and the ears were out. A lot of that has to do where they smelled where we were at the termite mound. And then our wind, there's a very slight breeze, but it's small, kept switching like this. So we've just given them lots of space. And I can actually hear them from where we are. And I can hear that they're starting to feed again and things. So I think let's walk up towards, this is a different termite mound, and see if we can get a little bit of a visual. If she had been completely disturbed by having seen us, you would have seen a very different reaction. It would have involved running away and things. That was just the, okay, I thought you were here. Okay, now I've seen you're here. And then everybody calmed down and we parted ways. So we'll just come up this way. And we're just going to get on top of this termite mound here. Here, I can see them through here. I think, can we see them this side? So what they've done now is because we did a loop, they've obviously can still smell us, so one female is still alert, the others are feeding. her little ones are still slightly alert, and then our wind has switched a little bit. But everybody's good. Oh, magical. I love elephants on foot. Now, I think if I heard correctly, Steve has buffalo. Apparently the buffalo are on Djuma. So let's head back to him.
Yes, correct, except the fact that we are on Chitwa at the moment, but we have found a small group of male buffalo, also known as Dagga boys. And Dagga boys comes from the fact that in Shangaan, Dagga means mud. And often these guys are found wallowing and covered in mud for cooling themselves and also protection against biting flies. Wonderful to see. It's only the second time I've seen buffalo in the area. Large herds of them to the north and to the east of us into the Kruger Park. And I believe last year the lion prides were quite rampant in feeding on these guys. And that's why we don't see too many. James and I were having a discussion, just reposition, we were having a discussion yesterday morning when we were doing our run, at why there weren't many ticks around, and my assumption is because the lack of buffalo moving through at the moment. These guys are definitely the carrier of a lot of ticks. Big juicy animal like that weighing to 900 kilograms, so close to 2,000 pounds. It is a big animal. Yes, I'm also very excited, and they are slowly mobile, what looks like possibly towards Chitwa Dam. Not sure, not moving very quickly. But when you understand landscape, and if, for example, we had the tracks of these animals crossing the road here, but we couldn't see them, then, you know, foresight would indicate go around to the dam and hopefully you'd see them. I mean, buffalo are very water dependent. They're very water dependent, so they'll always move towards water in the morning and the afternoon. But while we stay with these guys and see if maybe we can get a better visual, I believe Miss McCurdy up in the north has got another big 5 animal, one with a long trunk, big tusks, and a much bigger bum.
Hopping to the right. Sorry, hello everybody. I'm talking to Craig because we've got a Scallows turaco hopping in one of these Diospirus trees, and I know that Brent has been trying to put one on the screen for ages. There we go. It's bouncing. I think there's 2 of them fluttering, but it's almost 2. Yes, it's around there somewhere. We're just waiting to see it move. Let's see, they've got bright red under their wings. Craig actually spotted it. I'd heard an arena trogon doing its whoo whoo call, and it's just flown again. Where's it going? Oh, please come out, birdie, please. That would be amazing. It's the first time I've ever seen a Scallows turaco. I've never seen one before. We're just watching very carefully as it does bounce in the Signala berry. And hopefully we're going to get another view of it. It'll be very sad if we don't. I feel like they just keep escaping us. And they never sit still, though. They are always bouncing around. I used to joke as a guide and say if you can get a Neisner turaco, which is the one I grew up seeing, you're a very good photographer. I think I have like 2 pictures of turacos, and they're so difficult to try and photograph, and apparently to put on camera too. I wonder if it hasn't gone to the next tree. Shall we go a bit closer? We'll just need to try and figure out a way on how we'll get there. Let's try. There are some elephants, but we'll come back to the elephants. We'll have a look, try and get this bird on screen. Focus. Also with this roof, it's a bit difficult, so we have to try and angle the car. I think if I go around... It's there, hang on. Now I've got to try and turn as quickly as I can. There we go, Craig, right at the top. See where that middle little branch is on this one? Yeah, up there. There we go, zoom straight in, you got it. There it is! You can hear it calling as well. There was another one calling that. Rah, rah. It's a very sort of deep, rough call. Oh, that's amazing. That is so cool. That's probably going to be a new bird. I'm not sure if Brent has successfully put one on screen, but they're so difficult to see. I'm trying to see if I can spot it again with my binoculars. They're elusive birds, but one of the key characteristics, and it's often normally what you only see, is that bright red underneath their wings. So we often talk about flash coloration with frogs, with insects and things like that. When they leap, they expose that bright color. Can you hear? There's another one. Hear it calling? It's like a dog barking, but it's not a dog barking. That's actually that beautiful bird. Oh, there it flies. Craig, straight ahead, 12 o'clock. Not that battler, but up in here. In there is another one that's just flown. I'm gonna see in the monitor if I can see where it is. There we go, bouncing. Look, there we go. You can just see it now. I know you can't see the coloration very clearly, unfortunately, but that was the one that was doing the calling. And you can just see it fluttering, its silhouette. But maybe if it flies to the next tree, Craig is superb at following birds. He might be able to get you a glimpse of the beautiful red. So essentially what that is as they're bouncing amongst the trees, they're very well camouflaged because they're sort of green in color, and I will show you in my book eventually what they look like. And if they feel like they've been spotted by something, they will just fly a short difference and expose that bright red list. Oh, that's so cool. Come on, little bird. So they're feeding on all the fruits at the moment. They're predominantly fruit eaters. Love fig trees as well. And then, of course, these big diaspirus trees are perfect. And that's what they're busy doing. You can see them up and amongst the marina trogons, African green pigeons, the crowned hornbills. So there's two. You can see there's two of them in there. They're both fluttering about and feeding at the moment. There you go. Look how well camouflaged they are. Now, different from the Ross's turaco, of course. The Ross's turaco have got that bright yellow facial skin, and then also that purplish blue color, where these guys have got a long crest on top of their heads, and they look very much like a Nisan turaco, but I think with the Scala's turaco is that crest is a lot longer. They're such amazing birds. Well done, Craig. I know it's not the greatest view, but now that we know a few of them around in these diaspirus trees, we'll make sure that we keep an eye out for them. Here we go, just flapping away. Please could you fly into an area where we're not staring directly into the sun so we can see your beautiful feathers. While you look at it though, I'm just very quickly going to try and find it in my book so that I can show you, because I think you would enjoy to see this turaco. 222. Wow, very special, very special indeed. I can't believe it's taken. So I will show you the difference between the birds in a minute. However, I just don't want, I want to be able to see if we can see them flying, because that would be quite nice. There's lots of turacos, actually, lots that I've never seen before. And they're still bouncing around in there. Okay, I took my eyes off the screen now, you can just see it moving again. So just take a note of that very long crest. And then and that's how you can, that's probably the easiest way. And then they're also two different colors. Come on, fly a decent distance. Hear them? Oh. There are lots of them actually. I'm starting to see them everywhere now and in all the trees. I'm just looking for one, if there's maybe one bouncing around a better one. They're flying all around. Really amazing. What a great area to do some birding. And the game viewing is exceptional at the moment. Okay, let me show you. Seeing as though I don't think we're going to get a nicer view unless we get some that land on the trees to the left of us. So we'll start with the Rosses, just to show you there. So the Rosses is down to bottom to the right. Can you see how it's almost a purple-blue color? Very yellow facial skin, and then a sort of little red crest. And their call is, I don't know how to even describe their call. It's a lot more gurgly than the sounds that are being made at the moment. And then I'm just going to turn over. I've got to go 2. You can still hear them calling. Where's number 2? Up here. So that's the one that we're looking at. That's the beautiful one. And it's a pity that we can't get nice and close. Oh, cool. And then here's the other one I was telling you about, number 4, which is this one just below it. That's the Neisner turaco. That's the one that I'm used to seeing, that I grew up seeing. They live all over in the Eastern Cape in the Tsitsikamma forests. They love it. Beautiful, beautiful birds. And I remember I used to take a pencil and tap it on the side of my car and make a little type of noise, and that would actually intrigue them, and they would come bouncing about and lower down on the branches to come and have a look at what's going on. Once they realized it was you, they would fly away, but every now and then a guest would be able to get a sneaky snap. Now, James Richard, you said that that's the first time they've been put on camera. I'm sorry it wasn't the greatest sighting, but they're very busy, as you can hear them. That's baboons now behind me, sort of squealing away. So now that we know they're in this corner, perhaps this afternoon we'll try again, although I'm sure Brent is going to be eager to get an even better sighting for you. But you'll just have to take my word for it. Very cool. That was amazing. And now, sadly, our elephants have left us, so they've gone into the forest now. Pretty much in the same, well, in that direction. We go and feed, or maybe go down towards the Mara River. Wow! Been a long time since I've seen a green turaco. Well, one that has colour differences between the green turaco. Anyways, right, I'm going to send you down to the Sabi stand, where James is bumbling about, not sure what he's got. He will always entertain you with his wit and charm.
Well, what we've got is nothing, I'm afraid. I do apologise for that. I've done my best. Sebastian's done his best. We looked at that bird for a little bit longer, with the Wahlberg's eagle, and I'm pretty sure that the dark one was actually the youngster after reflection. Seb and Tristan saw the couple. What you got? Oh, elephant. Certainly a few elephants around today. While we get into position, Seb and Tristan saw the couple yesterday, and they were eating a francolin. Now, they would normally feed away from the nest. They wouldn't carry a meal back to the nest to eat it unless the baby was there. And so I think that that dark form that we saw today was the youngster. Here's our elephant coming to say hello. Now, I would quite like to deploy Ronald here, but he's not quite set up because I have been remiss in setting him up today. Anyway, we'll just enjoy him in the traditional way, I think, for now. Okay, we're going to go quickly across to Noel, who's got a similar creature.
So we're walking towards Djuma Dam. Now, as we know from earlier, Herbie is the same size as I am. So sometimes I look at the back of Herbie's head, and all of a sudden, Davy says, "Elephant." And Herbie and I go, "What?" And just behind this tambuti tree is a male elephant, who's now just walked over there. You can come with me this way. He knows we're here. All of us know everybody's here. And he's just standing, and he's listening to us, and he's doing a little bit of displacement behavior. So he's looking with the side of his eye and watching our heads up, and now he's trying to make himself appear a little bit bigger. So because there was no way out of the scenario, it was very different from our female elephants that we had yesterday. We have to just wait and see what he's going to do, and I'm going to wait and see what we are going to do. He's trying to use the bushes as a way to sneak up on us. So because he's aware, everyone's aware that we're together, this is completely different behavior than what you saw earlier, okay? So he's going to circle around us like what he's doing now, and the whole time he's going to circle around us, he just keeps an eye. They can see down their body, and he's just going to make sure that we don't do anything to him, just like he's not going to do anything to us. Do you see that behavior there? Okay. So yes, at one point or two, it was a little bit close, but in general, it's not a scenario where either of us is feeling aggressive toward each other or either of us is threatened. He just wants to get to the water, and we just happen to be on the same path at the same time, doing the same thing, but in opposite directions. So he's going to keep watching us, and then he wants to go to this water here. So on our way down to the dam, we were just cutting through to the backside of Galago here. There's a nice little pan, sometimes a place to check for tracks, but there's a nice little way to walk through the riverbed, and that was mine and Herbie's plan. So I just want you guys to all understand what just happened here. This is a wild elephant. We are on foot. He saw us, we saw him. We each gave each other space and then we both carried on doing what we need to do. Now, you saw all of this live. You saw a very different way that his body presented itself. But again, I was relaxed, Herbie was relaxed, Dobby was relaxed, and the elephant has now decided, oh, I'm relaxed and I'm going to go and drink. So, yes, we do have some scenarios sometimes where there's a little bit of aggression, or possibly you could even call danger, but a lot of the time it's scenarios like this. So I hope you all enjoyed that. I enjoyed that immensely. Now he's doing a wonderful job of sucking up the water in his trunk and pushing it in, and you can see his tail is now relaxed, his ears are now relaxed. He's still keeping an eye, but everybody's all good. So now let's head over to James, who I believe also has an elephant, and we're going to leave our young male here to enjoy his drink.
Here we are with the bottom end of an elephant. He has been almost as confiding, it sounds, as Noel's young bull, and I wonder if she doesn't have the same one we had yesterday. Just that tremendously happy bull. Anyway, we're going to sit with this little fella. In fact, what I'm going to do is drive around the corner here. We are setting Ron Dog up. You can see him there. And we'll just, if an opportunity presents itself, what I will do is not drive him towards the elephant, because I think that will almost certainly irritate him. I will just, if he looks like he's going to pop out onto the road, we'll just put him down gently. Oh, can you actually believe what we're going to go and see now with Stephen? Something even more rare than a leopard out here.
Indeed, James, indeed. We've managed to come around to Chitwa Dam. As I anticipated, these buffalo bulls were making their way down quite a prominent game path towards the water, and here they come for their daily drink. It's quite interesting how much water they can drink, and I'm just going to have to check my math to make sure that you all get the right facts from me here. But buffalo bulls can drink probably about 30 odd liters in a very short space of time. So I'm just going to find my calculations to work out gallons, because it gets quite confusing for me. But 34, so it's about 10 gallons or so, just under 10 gallons, maybe about 8 or 9 gallons of water. They put their face down to the water like that, and it just sort of sucks in as they lower their diaphragm, and they can take in a huge amount of water in a very small space of time, because this is a dangerous time for them. This is the opportunity when lions lie in wait, and they don't want to spend too much time at the water drinking. Obviously their heads have to be down to do so. But aren't they just a glorious bunch of old men? No ladies to be seen. These old Duggar boys, you can tell that they're old by definitely the one second on the right there. You see the fur around the face. Second on the right. See the fur around the eyes. It's lost a lot of the fur there. They're definitely not looking like prime bulls, and most often than not, bulls that are in a herd, they form bonds for life, and as they lose the need to compete and to perform in that pressurized society which is a buffalo herd, one that is dominated by females, the males, when they're done with their jostling and fighting for power with other males, will go off into these little retirement herds, little bachelor groups, as I said before, known as Duggar boys. And then slowly, as they get older and older, they just get picked off one by lions. So these are the individuals that you have to be very wary of when you're on foot, because they're quite slow, they're old, they're grumpy, very grumpy. And seeing these guys on foot is quite often one of the most thrilling experiences you can go through. But their eyesight's not great. They rely a lot on smell, and so many times in the past I've walked buffalo bulls knowing where they're going. For example, we knew they were coming towards Chitwa. If we were able to get ahead of them, you'd get around and you'd find a nice spot to sit with the light is in your favor, and then you can view them as they come down and drink perfectly safely. They're just coming to drink. They're not coming to cause any trouble. There we go, waiting for the last one to finish his drink, and then they will probably slowly meander back into the bushes behind. Beautiful. They are beautiful animals. One of the big five, as we know, and as I mentioned in the previous segment, only the second time I'm seeing them here. And from the information I've been told, the buffalo were hit quite heavily in these areas by a lion last year. And also because of the drought, we don't have the vegetation. There's not a huge amount of grass material. Buffalo like long, tall grass, sweet grass. They need a lot of it. And so they generally will hang out in areas where there's suitable food. The breeding herds specifically will move in response to grazing. And the dominant females will kind of lead the herd around. But we're going to stay here with these beautiful bovine animals for a little while longer, and while we do, we're going to go across to Mr. Hendry, who I believe is still with an elephant.
The same elephant. If I was Steve, I would not leave those animals at all. They may be the last ones he sees for the next 6 months or so. Anyway, we have got Ronald deployed. He is standing not very far from the elephant. About 15 meters or so, I would say. Call it 50 feet. And you can see he has a very nice view of the elephant, and the elephant is slightly unaware of him. I'm just going to move him very slightly forward. I do think that the animals react to his noise more than they do to the sight of him. You can see he's very nicely hidden in the grass there. Elephant continuing his feeding. Now this is what we wanted. This is what we wanted. He's going straight past Ronald now. Okay, Ronald, just hold fast, my old pal. This could get dangerous. And I thank you for the personal sacrifice you may be about to make. That's it. That's it, Mr. Elephant. Down and past you go. Oh, to us you're coming, are you? Are you coming to tell me how displeased you are with my rover effort? Could you not have just stepped over him? It would have been a really nice picture. Next time you see Ronald, please step over him. Thank you. As you were. Now this is interesting behavior. He's come here purely to see us. He's purposely crossed the road to come and say hello to us, or just to come and be around us, which dovetails very nicely with Scarlett's question as to whether or not I think that elephant bulls get lonely. Scarlett, you know, I think if they got lonely, they'd just find friends, you know. There's no reason for them not to find friends. I mean, there's no reason that this bull shouldn't go and hang around out, you know, on the outskirts of a herd, or that he shouldn't go and find other elephant bulls of a similar age to be around if he wanted to be around them. So I don't think that they get lonely all the time. I think they probably sometimes seek out company, or get lonely and then they seek out company. But also, I think they get bored more than they get lonely, and certainly it's been my impression with young bulls especially, and I'm not sure that this chap is actually about 35. I think he's younger than that. I think he's probably about 30, 25 to 30. He retains some of his youthful curiosity, And I think that the young bulls, especially after the entertainment on offer in a herd, definitely get bored, and they will come and interact with us. They come and just sort of sometimes will shake their heads and come and sort of sniff us, but often they'll do exactly what he did there, and that's cross the road and start to feed closer to us than is necessary, you know, go and feed on plants exactly the same as where he was standing, just close to where we are. I'm going to try and get one more picture with Ronald. Ronald is making an approach as we speak. Poor old Ron dog, you know, his whole top there is now loose from where he was kicked over 4 times by elephants yesterday, and then he was bitten by Hosanna. Now, he was bitten by a leopard, and that is a difficult one for us because it's precisely what we don't want to happen. We really want animals like Hosanna to completely ignore this animal. It's not something that he should be biting or having a look at, but for the most sort of cursory glance. And I think in order to fix that problem, we're going to have to disguise Ronald. You know, this elephant is now moving away, and every 2 steps he takes is about 10 minutes driving for Ronald, so I think we'll bring him back to the car now. Isn't it funny how you start to feel an affection for a machine like this? It's a little bit like the brilliant way that they make R2-D2 in Star Wars such a character, he's completely obviously, what do I want to say? He's totally inorganic. He's not living, but you still feel an affection for him, and that's how I feel for Ronald. Hello, Ronald. He's going to look at a flower now. He's got a beautiful flower in his view. There we are. You see it? Bracteosus is the specific name. The generic name I can never ever remember. Quite closely related to the wild aniseed and the wild basil. It'll come back to me, of course, as we link across to Noelle. I believe Noelle has got a tree, and she would like to tell you about it, I'm sure, and so over to her now.
I do have a tree. How incredible is that little rover, Ronald the rover? Insane, it boggles my mind. We have a silver cluster leaf, and I would like you to notice how much the leaves have been eaten. Let me pull this one off. You can see these little holes. Those are from things like aphids and also caterpillars. And there's quite a few caterpillars that like to put their eggs on here. Now, most of the eggs that you'll find on here will be the size of the tip of a pin. So they can sometimes be difficult to find. Sometimes, but I am having a look. Now, this leaf, elephants will eat when they have tummy problems and also when their molars are coming through. They don't come up like ours, they rotate through. So like the elephants that we've been seeing on walk, as well as James and Ronald the rover. So you chew on it, and it has the same ingredient that Novocaine has in it. It basically numbs your gums. And then when you chew on it and swallow the juices, it gets rid of any sort of tummy upsets you might have, and it's worked for me. I was driving to the airstrip last year, and my tracker looked at me and said, "I'm full. Are you okay?" I'm full. Means brother. I said, "I'm fine. I'm fine." He goes, "No, stop." We stop. He grabs a whole bunch of this. He shoves it in my mouth. And he's like, "Please just chew this." Swallow. So I chew and swallow. And then after we picked up our guest, he goes, "You're better now, yeah?" Yes, I'm better. Thank you so much. You can also make rope and things out of it. I can demonstrate a little bit. The bark's not the best. Herbie is much better at doing this. Herbie made Tristan a happy birthday bracelet early in the year. So you take the outer bark layer off. You want to get down to where it's green. And then underneath here, it's going to be sort of wet and a little bit slimy. And, oh my goodness, my tree is going to sound so unamusing after this. Steve has 3 leopards. When you get back, hopefully you have a bracelet. Let's go to Steve. Herbie's gasping.
I'm not sure what is going on here. We have got 2 leopards in front of us. A very young one also to the left of us. There is noises. They are not happy with each other, these two. We're going to stay with them. VM seems to think it's Thandi and Shadow. They are not happy. Let me just move up forward. There is another one behind us that is a very young, probably Shadow's cub. Okay, I'm just going to go around. Let's go this way. This is awesome. We just found some very fresh tracks. And then this is what we found. Weaver's Nest. Just come onto Weaver's Nest from the main access, from Gowrie Main. Okay, this is... Yeah, James is quite interested to come and assist us here, but yeah, they're heading east from our position, directly away from Weaver's Nest. The youngster is still behind us, but we're going to see if we can stay with these two. But they were vocalizing, and they weren't very happy with each other. There we go, there's something happening. There's definitely some sort of territorial dispute going on here, and it looks like they're heading towards the main road again. Yeah, there they are back on the main road. It seems to be a little bit of a you go that way, I go this way sort of stuff. That is our fire break. You see him there, V. Sorry folks, it's very difficult to film when moving, but they are moving quite quickly, so we're going to see if we can catch up with them. Heading directly back towards the main road again. Yeah, just when we think it's nearly time to head home, VM, the unbelievable wildebeest, spotted some very fresh tracks in the road, and now we are back at the main road, and both of those two adults seem to have crossed, but the juvenile is still over here. So let's just give it a moment, see if we can. But there was growling happening between those two females as they were moving. They're definitely competing, I'd say, for some territory. And definitely Shadow looked like the smaller of the two leopards there, but it's my first time seeing her. We were just driving along, and VM was like, ooh, there's a leopard. And then I went, ooh, there's another one, and then we saw three. So that was quite something to behold. But the two adults have now seemingly crossed south. Go back to where we saw Shadow's cub. Wow indeed, folks, wow indeed. We're right here back on the road where we started. Let's see if we can find that beautiful little one there in the road up ahead. Looks like Shadow's cub, folks. You can tell me for sure. She's wondering what Mum is up to. Isn't she a beauty? Is that Shadow's cub, folks? Let me know what you think. But the other two have basically did a big loop coming back towards this place. I'm not sure what was going on. There was a little bit of aggression between the two, but it wasn't. They weren't looking at each other. There was almost like an invisible boundary that they were both running along. And this youngster here was basically just watching. Just going to move up a bit, see if we can get a better visual. This is incredible, folks, and at the moment it's just us. From leopards, from buffalo and elephants to beautiful cats. There she is, rubbing her face in that African weeping wattle, which you all know very well. Ah, there we go. Do you see the posture she's doing with her mouth? Now, this is not Barbara, apparently you're all agreeing. So, folks, did you see what she did with her mouth there? That's activating what we call the Jacobson organ. There's obviously some leopard scent marking there, some urine in the grass or on the leaf. And look at how she's doing it. By doing that grimace. It's called the phlegm response. You see it in a lot of animals. They'll raise their top lip. It's to activate this organ that is in the top of the mouth, top of the palate. And that indicates all sorts of things. Indicates sexual maturity, indicates female, male, strength, all sorts of interesting stuff we can't even hazard to guess. But the wildebeest was correct. Those tracks were very fresh. I'm just going to call it on the radio, folks, just so others know where we are. Stations, I've located Shadow's cub on Weaver's Nest, 50 meters to the north of Gowrie, Maine. I need to go back onto Djuma radio. We were on Chitwa chatting with them there. They were very interested about our buffalo that we had. Sorry, I'm going to do that again. My apologies. Stations, I've located Shadow's cub on Weaver's Nest, 50 meters north of the junction with Gowrie, Maine. Animal is slowly mobile in a westerly direction. Going to see if I can keep with her, if you're up with that. I certainly am. Sprout in the road. Would Shadow or Shadow's cub kill Thandi's cub? That's not something I'm familiar with, of female leopards killing other cubs. But definitely something that males have been known to do. It's a very good question. Maybe we can throw that to Mr. James Hendry. She's just here. There she goes. She's wondering where Mum has gone to. But yes, definitely the aggressive response that we saw there from Shadow, she was almost sort of shepherding Thandi away from here. Almost if she knew, and this youngster was just sort of hiding. We saw her first, and then we saw the other two leopards sort of on a perimeter, kind of looping around the side. And the aggression, there was no eye contact, but there was just this rumble coming from at least from Shadow's chest. I wasn't sure what Thandi was doing, if it was Thandi at all. I was still very new to these leopards, but this is a marvelous thing to see, this youngster. And I wonder where the other two have gone. Haven't heard any snarling or any fighting, but leopards will avoid confrontation if they can. You can't afford to get an injury, so the posturing and the body language would be enough to hopefully keep the other one at bay, because a leopard can't afford to get bitten on the back leg or something like that, because that just will lead to being unable to climb a tree, and if it can't climb a tree, it can essentially be dead in the water when it comes to getting away from lions and hyena, and also caching its food. I'm just going to move up a bit here still, see if we can get another look at this beautiful cat. Karen, do I think she looks hungry? That is a good question. Definitely looks in very good condition. Whether she's hungry though or not, I'll have to have another look for you now. There she is there. She is such a beautiful little cat. Now I know why you were all going crazy on Twitter the other day when she was found. Just get a look at her there. How's that, V? It's just behind the bushes here. And yes, she does look like she could eat. Absolutely sensational. Good job, wildebeest. Good job. We were looking at those tracks and wondering how fresh they were and having a discussion of whether they were probably tumbo from this morning. Didn't seem like anyone had driven on this road. And then suddenly we'd stopped to look at the tracks And Mr. Wildebeer was like, oh, there it is. And indeed, there it was. She's doing a big circle in the block here. I wonder if she's hoping Mum's going to come back after chasing away the rival. Everyone's saying how big she's gotten. Yes, well, it's my first time seeing her, so I'm going to pay attention to her growth now. But when I saw her initially, she definitely looked like a young leopard. In comparison, I mean, Thandi looked like a monster compared to Shadow. And then if it was Thandi at all, I did not get a proper look. I don't think we actually saw her very well. Is she contact calling is a question. I can't hear. I can't hear if she is calling. But I'm just going to try come around here. She's heading straight back towards where we came in. I don't think she's deliberately trying to lose us. I think she's just trying to figure out where her mum has gone, because she probably would be willing to eat if Mum was willing to provide. Okay, now she is moving towards our southern boundary. Don't go south, Shadow. It's Cub, aka not Barbara. Stay with us here. Oh. They never seem to grow old, leopards. Even when they're adults, they still play. See, she likes trees just like me. What a wonderful end to our morning. That's why, folks, it's important to constantly be alert and constantly be awake. You never know what you might come across. And we almost went another route home, and instead we decided on Weaver's Nest, which is one of our Okay, thanks James Richard, you've assisted us in the IDs. I know you do know all these cats very, very well, so VM's initial call was exactly that, but I wasn't going to put my name on it because I honestly didn't know, but you've apparently agreed that all three IDs are correct, and here she is, beautiful little leopard. Hello, youngster. Okay, she's on our fire break now, moving in a sort of westy direction. You can hear don't know if you can hear, but the fork-tailed drongo is shouting at her. Just like that she disappears, but walking in the road makes it quite easy to follow. She's been doing a big loop in the block here. Okay, so we're going to continue here a little bit with this young, aka not Barbara, and look at that beautiful tail. Maybe we'll get her to stop and give us a little smile. And while we leave this beautiful cat, I believe Taylor's got a beautiful bird.
Look at what we've got. We've got the most amazing scene. I know you're having beautiful views of leopards, but we've got an adult white-browed cuckoo and a juvenile. Now the juvenile is the one on the right-hand side. You can see how barred it is. Of course, the adult is stealing the show as it erects its feathers. I think obviously a bit on the wet side and looking a bit well, strange. Its feathers ruffled. Look at that. But I've never seen a juvenile cuckoo before. Never mind a Birchall's cuckoo. We've got the juvenile white-browed. Now, and the reason why I know it is, like I said, a juvenile, because of the coloration. It's much smaller in size. It hasn't even developed its tail feathers just yet. And it's clambering around on the branches too. It hasn't quite got its balance just yet. This is amazing. I've never seen the nest of a cuckoo either, but we always see them diving into the shrubs. So I would imagine that they build it either in a shrub like that, or perhaps in the tall grass that's just around it. Here we go. Dry your feathers nicely. That's a great way. That little one will learn a thing or two. That's the adult again. It's beautiful. This is a really amazing spot to find cuckoos. I mean, this is the same area where we see the black cuckoo too. And sometimes you can get a little bit confused with the black cuckoo and the white-browed cuckoo, and especially with the juveniles, because you saw how dark and sort of mottled in color they are. And I think when they're flying quickly, you could get a bit excited and think that it is a black cuckoo, but it's just hiding just back there in the shade. Oh my word, I didn't think that's what we were going to see today. That's amazing. Now, I was just quickly reading in my book, because I don't know much about their breeding habits, unfortunately. Like I said, the first time I've ever seen a juvenile cuckoo before. So it says here that they actually lay quite a few eggs, anywhere between 3 and 5 eggs. I can only see the one juvenile here, so maybe it was the only one that survived. Unfortunately, perhaps there are a few more around. Maybe, I don't know if this is mom or dad. There's very little differences between the sexes, so maybe the others are off, or maybe only one made it. But I'd love to see one of their nests. Well, I think it would be between them and the yellow-throated longclaws. It'd be quite a difficult nest to try and find. Oh no, I think there's a second one just down to the left. I don't know if you can see. If you zoom in, if you go center frame, Craig, there should be. I can just see movement. I think there is another one there. I can see them eyes a little bit to the right. Yeah. Oh, there we go. No, you were right. Here we go. I think that might be another juvenile there. So maybe there are 2. It's just a bit difficult to tell. The way that it's sitting in that tall grass, though, trying to hide away, as if it's not quite ready to come out just yet. Oh, they can fly, though, but not very well. Let's see if this one is going to take off and follow suit, because they've all just moved to the next shrub. Come on, show us. I don't even know how old they are. They must be maybe 2 or 3 months old. I'm not really even sure when they fledge. Let me see if it says anything about fledging. Let's see. No. When do they leave the nest? They leave the nest at 2 weeks. So, oh my goodness, only after 2 weeks they've got their feathers and are able to fly short distances. That's amazing. So maybe they're slightly younger than that. Maybe there we go. It's just hopping up now. There it is. Maybe it's almost a month, I would say, because those feathers are fairly well developed. Hasn't quite got the red eye yet, though, which the adults have. Here we go. I think, here we go. Just defecated. It might fly a short distance. There it goes. That was amazing. Something new, another new bird. Not a new bird, but just seeing a little version of it, which was quite cool. Right, that's enough of the feathers. Let's go back down to the Sabi sand, the land of leopards, to have a look at, not Barbara.
Not Barbara indeed, is being very playful, and she just stalked and pounced on. We're not quite sure what. We're going to have to reposition to see. Don't go south, young lady. She's been walking this fire break and doing what she was doing before, testing the urine that some cat has been spraying and going through all sorts of things in her brain. You can't imagine when you smell something like that what it actually tells you, but it's very important for them to learn from an early age. Who's dominant? Is that my mom? Is that not my mom? There we go. Now she's playing the part. Aegis asks if Shadow called, would she hear her? I think maybe a bit far away now, but they'll probably move into the same area and smell each other before starting to call. Just going to make some space. We have another vehicle that's busy joining us here. I'm going to go up ahead and let them maybe come and have a look Just let me talk to him quickly. Yeah, brother, we've just got her just to the left of me. If you have a look, I'm just going to go up a bit. Please enjoy. Can you see her, V? There we go. The perfectly camouflaged spotted cat. Got one of the Djuma vehicles that's just joined us. They're obviously very excited to see a leopard as well. We've been enjoying this by ourselves, or with you, for the last, 15 minutes or so, which is magical. There she is. So she's going through all sorts of exploration. She smells all the urine. She's trying to investigate how to hunt small birds. A lot of learned behavior. She follows mum a lot, but she's now at the stage where she could probably start feeding a little bit more for herself, but still quite young. Would probably still rely quite a lot on mum for a proper meal. The time a leopard is able to kill its first impala, adult impala, is when it sort of graduates to the hall of adulthood. And we're seeing Hasana doing that quite regularly. Catherine, you feel quite bad for cubs being forced to be on their own. That's just the way it is, I'm afraid. You know, that's how they learn. They are very instinctive animals. I mean, if you look at a domestic cat, you take it away from its mother quite early, and yet it still is able to do all of the necessary things to survive. So it's an important learning curve for it. It needs to understand the ways of the world on its own. It needs to understand the smells and the sounds and the dangers. You know, and they do learn it. They instinctively know a lot, and leopards are such a survivable animal. A lion cub away from its parents at an early age really, really struggle. But leopards, look at that. How camouflage is that? Leopard cubs, they just manage. And if they do manage to get to sort of adulthood, then they've earned their right to breed. That strength and that genetic trait goes forward with her, or him. And that's how the gene perpetuates. We're kind of losing visual of her there. Just see the spot pattern through the leaves. So we're going to spend a little bit more time here with Shadow's cub. She's dangerously close to the southern boundary. I hope she doesn't cross there, because if she does, we can't follow. But she's very interested in whatever's going on, and she is gorgeous. But in the meantime, we're going to go to Ralph with some flat lions.
Thanks, Steve. And yes, it seems from one beautiful cat to another. Here we're sitting with a very flat male lion. And just behind him there's a female. And they both look rather hungry. And we have just left the hyena den, where the cubs were starting to do exactly this. So we thought it was time to take our leave, because even the youngsters were getting a little bit tired in the end. And so it was time to bed up for the day. I'm sure they've had the excitement of the morning with the adults returning from their nights foraging and looking for food. And now that they're back, everybody seems to be taking up a little bit of a sleepy pose. And the lions are no different. And this looks like this male his hips are showing a little bit, so I wonder if he's getting on a bit. I can't really tell who this is, especially with him lying flat like that. But he's a big male, but looks like he's needs a bit of building and meeting up. I wonder if he's a bit older. Quite interesting, but maybe it's a mating pair. Who knows? Quite interesting, but difficult to tell with just seeing them flat like this, and we haven't seen any others in the area either. Alright folks, so from these sleeping cats, let's send you on over to Steve, who's still with those other beautiful rosetted cats.
A beautiful rosetted cat indeed. Thank you, Ralph. It's more interesting watching a leopard moving than a lion sleeping. But she is heading directly towards Texan, directly towards the road, directly towards our southern boundary. Look at her, isn't she just gorgeous? She's having a look at the people on that car. Still a learning curve for her. She is habituated, but still figuring it all out, you know. Mum told her it was fine, but she also needs to make that decision for herself. And they're looking a little bit sheepish, those guests in the car. Even though this is a young leopard, the first time a leopard looks at you in the eyes, it is quite a daunting experience, but a wonderful one nonetheless. But, folks, she has crossed to Little Gowrie, as they'd like to do, as Mom and Thandi did as well. We're not sure what was happening over there, and apparently they were littermates. But to me it seemed like Thandi was so much bigger than Shadow, but that's what I saw. So, I spoke earlier this morning, we were talking about a really large hornbill, and we're going to leave Thandi's cub here because she's crossed, and we're going to head back on towards our breakfast. And Ralph, I believe, up in the Mara has got one or two of those really beautiful ground hornbills.
Thanks, Steve. And I know you were talking quite a lot about hornbills this morning, and I think yesterday afternoon as well. And here is the largest of the hornbills, the ground hornbill, the southern ground hornbill to be exact. And this pair that is walking through the grass here, although we're just seeing one for the minute, they've got a lot of stuff in their bills, and we're just trying to work out if it was locusts or indeed it looks like it might be some form of nesting material, a little bit of vegetation, maybe to soften on the inside a little bit. They do perform quite similar nesting behavior as their family suggests. So they'll also go into a big cavity in a tree. Obviously the cavity needs to be a lot larger than it would be for your grey, your red-billed and your yellow-billed and all the rest. But very similar technique. So that might be a little bit of bedding for the inside. But very interesting indeed, especially with such a rare bird that we have so many here in the Mara. It's absolutely astonishing for me to see so many ground hornbills where we normally just get a fleeting chance of seeing them. Now, Shamama, you've asked a very interesting question. Is it true that birds don't carry fleas, only mites? Shamama, I was led to believe that birds, especially your larger birds, do get fleas, but I'm going to have to look into that because I don't want to say that you're wrong without a real information behind me. But it was, for instance, with guinea fowl, I've seen, but maybe it was mites. Guinea fowl, flea-like arthropods on them or parasites, but maybe you're right, maybe they were mites. Have a little bit of, so sorry about that. We are sitting stationary, so hopefully it will stabilize, even though these hornbills are now walking through the long grass. They're starting to disappear off a little bit, but they've been hard at work, I don't know, collecting whatever it is that they are. Now, but Shamama, I'm going to have a look up and see on your question there. Let's I'll follow up this afternoon, and I'll just have a look at the parasites, that the specifics that occur on birds, and particularly large birds, and normally ground birds as well. I would imagine are quite big hosts of parasites, but that's very interesting indeed, and I'm very interested in finding out what the answer is. But look at that. It keeps looking for extra little bits. And when I first saw it, I thought it was grasshoppers and things that it had been collected and maybe taking back to a chick of sorts, but it seems they're both collecting specific material. But you see there, putting all the material down and then just having a quick bite to eat. And then I would imagine it picks up all that bedding material again. So it doesn't pass up an opportunity just for a quick meal on the run while it's carrying its nesting material. That we are thinking that's what he's doing, or she. Wonderful. So nice to see the ground hornbills, and as they walk, I'm just imagining their tracks, because I love to track them, and I've seen many times their tracks in the field, and very rarely actually seeing them. And with that lovely distant booming call of theirs, almost like a distant bass drum that you hear. I heard it very often on foot when we're up in the north of the Kruger National Park. Now, Madison, you're saying that you've been missing the ground hornbills. Well, I'm glad I could have brought a bit of a interaction and behavioral side to them as well, as opposed to them just walking through the grass. This is obviously something to do with nesting, I believe, because both of them hard at work collecting as they go, but not passing up the opportunity to have a little feed as they grab it with the little insects and so on with their bill and throw it into the back of their throat, as it did there, and then it collects its material up again. So very interesting there, hey? Shame. As they start to disappear off quite far, I would have liked to follow these two, but it's into no off-roading area, so unfortunately I can't. But they do get quite nervous with the vehicle coming near to them anyway, so I don't like to press up near to hornbills. Now, Lou, you want to know if there's a higher population of hornbills in the Mara? Well, Lou, from my perspective, absolutely, because I've just seen so many of them here that it has to be that there's a larger population, and maybe down to the fact that they do have a lot of the trees that is made available for their nesting sites. In a lot of the areas where they used to occur quite abundantly, their nesting trees have been cut down, and encroachment from humans, and people using those big trees for quite specific building material and dugout canoes and all sorts, and so there is a bit of habitat destruction with the hornbills, and they do breed very slowly, so it's quite difficult for them once their numbers start going down for them to replicate that breeding numbers, because I think it's only one chick every 3 to 5 years, so it's very difficult for them. Folks, it was a wonderful little behavioral sighting with ground hornbills, southern ground hornbills, and I'm sure that was a delight for lots of people. But speaking of delights, let's send you on over to Taylor, who's got a lovely sighting of some furry kitty cats.
We found the culprits. We've got what looks like the Angama pride, well, at least some of them. I think there could be more just tucked away in the long grass. It's quite difficult to see them at the moment, but they look like they were streaming down out of the valley and not too long ago, and I did hear their roars coming from final, or quite close to final control this morning, so they were somewhere around there, in between Angama and in between final control up on the escarpment. So remember, they killed a zebra the night before. Literally about, how close was it, Craig? Like 40 meters from camp, from the kitchen, from the mess tent. It was pretty exciting. So they're back down where they belong again, so we can go back to seeing our Angamas on a regular basis, because we'd missed them for a few days. I do enjoy being able to see them almost every single day. But there they sit just on the termite mound. I don't think they'll stay out there for very long. It's actually nice and warm today. Like I said, the sun was powering through the clouds, and it's done exactly that. It has warmed everything up. All the birds we've seen drying their feathers, so I think the lions will dry their coats out and probably settle underneath one of these Balanites trees, waiting for us to see them on the sunset safari. But I hope that you've enjoyed it, filled with spots of leopard kind and hyena kind, lots of birds, and of course lions to end the sunrise safari. But we'll see you this afternoon, same time, same place.